Okay, let's add an event to your website. Here we are on the vinobella.biz site where we're going to do a demonstration on how to add an event. If we go to the events page, how depressing. There's no events. Nothing's happening. So, we need to sign on and we need to create an event. Let me tell you a little bit about the way this functionality works. Here on the events page, you actually don't have any events. What this module is here, this block, is just a display events block. So you need to create an event, and any events you have will be displayed here. This is not where you actually create the event. You'll get it in just a second. So, first thing we got to do is log on to our site. We're at the vinobella.biz site, but like your site, here it is down here. Sign in to edit this site. Enter your username and password. Sign in. Now we're open in edit mode. Let's navigate to the events page and see that indeed there are no events here. So the way I like to do this is I like each event to have its own page. So when you're going to create a new event, create a new page. Eventually we'll link to that page from here. But to create an event, start by adding a page. I know it doesn't seem intuitive, but you got to get used to it. Add a page. The kind of page we're going to add, the type, is the right sidebar, because that's our normal page that we use. And let's give this event a name. We'll call it Tasting Event with Bob's Brewery. We do not need to give it any more description than that. None of this stuff really matters. This does matter. Exclude from navigation. I'll show you why in a second, but you gotta select exclude from navigation. Choose the page type is the right sidebar. Give your page a new name. And make sure you select exclude from nav. Then add the page. So here we are on your new page. If you do not select exclude from nav, it shows up here. You don't want that. So always make sure you exclude from nav when you're creating a new page for one of these events. So now, add to main, the main section here. We're going to add a block. So when you click on it, this menu is going to open. Add block. Scroll down to the bottom of this list and you'll see add event. We're going to add an event. So we'll call this a beer tasting with Bob's Brewery. We have already entered some of these types of events. For instance, this is a beer tasting, but if you wanted to call it something else, create a new event type, you can. But this is a beer tasting, and we know that. Okay, we have to choose a start date. We have to choose an end date. Now, this is a little bit counterintuitive. The end date, even if it's just a one-time event for just a couple hours on one day, you need to choose a day for it to end. So this event starts on this day, and it runs through this day. If that makes sense, I'll explain why. The system needs to know when this event falls off. So at this point, the system knows that it starts on this day, and it knows that the event ends on this day. So, in this case, the 29th of July, since it's the 28th through the 28th, on the 29th of July, this event will cease to exist. It will fall off. And that's what we want. So, always give it an end date, even if it's the same day. So let's have the tasting go from 7 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Who cares about European time? We're not in Europe. All-day event just means it's going to override this stuff, and it's going to override the times, and it's just going to show it as an all-day event. These are, an external URL. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Event location. You could give it a name if you want, but obviously this is a page for your place, so the events are happening at your place, so it doesn't matter. If you want to put an address in here, you can put in a Googleized standardized address. What I call Googleized standardized address, which just means a one-line address, house number, street name, city, state, and Google will recognize that as a real address, and our link to get directions or get a map will actually work. But that really doesn't matter for us because, like I said, this event is happening at your place. You can enter this information too if you want. No big deal. Now, here's where we get back to our text editor, our basic text editor that we've seen before. It's going to be a beer tasting with Bob's Brewery. A great beer from Bob. And you can add pictures, you can add paragraphs and paragraphs of text if you want. You can do whatever you can do in a text editor, you can do here because we're creating a page. So let's give this a heading. What the heck? Let's call it a heading 2 for this. And then, like I said, we can have more paragraphs of text, add pictures, all that stuff if you want, whatever you want to do, add links to it, whatever. It's just creating text for a page. Then let's add this event. So click Add. And there's our event. So this is the event page. This is not on the events page. This is a new page just for the beer tasting with Bob's Brewery. Exit edit mode. Publish my edits. And now here we are. We're on the page. July 28th, 7 to 9. Beer tasting with Bob's Brewery. Lots of great beer from Bob. All that stuff that we just entered is here. So this is on a separate page. This is not on the events page. It's a separate page just for this event. Now let's go back to the events page. And no longer is it empty. We now have an upcoming event. If you click on this link to the event, it takes you back to the event page. So that's the way I like to have it, because you may have events that are very short. You may have very short in terms of content. You may have events that have a huge page of content of information you want to share. So I like the idea of creating a new page for each event. There are options to do it a different way that would basically list all of the events on one page. The entire event would be listed here instead of just little truncated version of it. We can do that, but I like doing it this way. So that's how to create a new page and add an event to it so that it shows up on your events list.